Yes, thank you.
Okay, a very good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me. Malaysia Blockchain Week. First of all, it's been a long day, and I'll do my best to incite you what I'm about to share with all of you. Number one, the hype of blockchain has been around for quite some time, and I thought of giving you some thought-provocative notion of where has this hype gone. Because we've been talking about it for so many times on supply chain, on how Walmart has been using it, how this is banking the unbanked. But in reality, where the hell are we, to be honest? Now, if you don't know what we do, we basically help brands to create technology that measures impact for communities worldwide, focusing on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And of course, we've been in this discussion for a very long time. So I am here at the end of the day, hopefully to incite you with a bit of perspectives on where are we at the moment in less than 10 minutes. If I do not prepare this well, I apologize. But if I manage to give the message across to your mind and think about it at the end of the talk, then I guess I have done my deal here, and hopefully you can come across and advocate for a better way of making blockchain more tangible. So, since I don't have a clicker with me, I need the person to push the slide to, the next slide for a sec. Alright, next slide. This is so inconvenient, but it's okay. I need you to go to slide number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, keep going, stop. Okay, everybody knows this Ban KiMoon. He's our former General Secretary for the UN. This is the guy who not only wanted to diversify the way the UN is trying to play its role in the private sector by introducing the UN SDG Goals, but also trying to invoke more technologies. And a lot of people have been talking about blockchain, like I said. And if you were to go on the next slide, there's a bunch of SDG goals here. Next slide, guys. Next slide. There's a bunch of SDG goals here, from no poverty to quality of life. And suppose the SDG goals through the Blockchain Association back in the US, especially with the UN, there's a specific one. Supposedly it's more focusing on how could we use blockchain, not just for financial reasons, but also for helping, measuring, reporting, monitoring, making better decisions, and keeping us in check of how we could amplify real impact on the ground, from employment to getting people out of poverty line, to getting people the right amount of ration, to prevent farmers and over-farming, to help people from understanding how climate change is the real deal, all right? So the issue here is not because we don't have the capacity, it's the priority. The priority right now, if you're in this room or in the other room, you're gonna hear people talking about all the kinds of, yeah, this is a cool feature we have with this technology, oh, this is how you can even measure how you're gonna make money, how you can trade, etc., etc. But in this case, if you go to the next slide, guys, go next. Okay, this book, all right? The problem I have actually is not because we don't have the technology. The problem is basically we are underestimating the potential of how blockchain could definitely give this perspective of elevating communities that are not in our shoes at the moment. If you could put your shoes in the refugees issue, put your shoes in someone who don't even have access to lights. These are the guys that we have been deprioritizing for a very long time just because of reasons that I will share later. In this book by Peter Diamandis, who founded XPRIZE, if you know XPRIZE, this is the one that started with XSpace. He writes about this book about abundance, where we are living the most abundant time of our life, regardless of all the civil wars and stuff. What does that mean is that we are abundant with new technologies. We are abundant with new economic opportunities, new target markets. And if you go to the next slide, my friend, go to the next slide, next slide. More. All right, go up, more. All right. So, during the abundance age that we're living in right now, it is also the most safest times of our life. If you were to compare with the World War, with the Roman Empire and so forth, life longevity is one of the longest. So, most importantly, a lot of these emerging companies have emerged from this time that we have pretty much groomed from. And the only thing missing here is, going back to my topic here, go to the next slide. Actually, the one thing that I think is a bit wrong, or in this sense a bit misinterpreted, is most big startups, big companies, even when it's blockchain technologies on new applications, a lot of us are focusing on and targeting developed markets. You know, Indonesia is a new developed market, so is China, but this was never the case decades ago. We would only, and the problem here also is we're already neglecting those who we can't make money off. Yeah, it sounds messed up, but that's indirectly that's what it means. You're only saturating the market if you keep focusing on those who can buy, those who have the ability to buy a car, a house, or rent even. The problem also is the mentality of our people building technologies. It is not prioritizing on those who are focusing on real things that matter. So if I would go to the next slide, which is over here, you see people like the old timers who have done it are looking at more things that are sustainable, that they can somehow use their billionaire assets to focus on real things that they could solve with real world problems, apart from climate change, poverty and so forth. But our young guys are looking at cool stuff. It's a phenomenon from Silicon Valley to even Cyberjaya, if you want to call that Silicon Valley, in China, in Shenzhen and so forth. We're looking at these technologies because it is an exciting time for emerging markets. But at the same time, 1/3 of this population of this planet does face real issues. The reason why we're not really feeling those guys, or we're not having any emotional attachment to those, one of the main things that I blame on this is because, on the next slide, is instant gratification. We're looking for instant gratification. It has become a drug. Your email, you get an email, you want to see an email from a sales, that's instant gratification. With likes, all of this. And you could not see this with people who are suffering, or people you want to help to get them out from poverty, because there's no instant gratification there. It takes months, years, even decades. So that paradigm shift needs to happen. Now, if I were to go on the next slide, I'll give you some real numbers. All right, go to the next slide. I'm talking about even at this age of abundance, with all these technologies popping up left and right and so forth, developing our nation. Next slide, you'll see that there are still 1.6 billion people who have no access to light. On the next slide, you see about 800 million people who have no access to real, drinkable, hygienic water. And on the next slide, there's about 2.4 billion people who don't have access to proper sanitation. People have more phones in their pocket rather than a workable toilet, all right? And most importantly, the phenomenon of refugee migration, which is the worst in the world, the human world history. You have about nearly 3 billion people who have no access to any financial services or banks. This is where our other friend, the loan sharkers, this is their market. They're the one who are making money a lot of this. And of course, it's not relegated, and so forth. So where the hell is our blockchain application here? Where is this? We've seen it on newspapers, but there's not much talked about. We'd rather see more about cryptocurrencies trying to be regulated. We're looking at how the logistic of Walmart, of any chain, of Aeon, looking at how they can make better, precise decision. Now, if I were to go to the next slide on doing a bit of pulse check, what kind of impact can we have with blockchain or any kind of technology similar to blockchain if we were to, next slide, to help people who are, in this case, our refugee friends. There are nearly 88 million. 88 million who have no houses, who are running away from wars. So that is also, in economic sense, that's 88 million of missed opportunities. And I'll tell you why these things are not prioritized and why they're so slow. In Jordan, a lot of these refugee camps have been using blockchain as a way of giving them the ration they need to survive, to give them job applications if necessary, just through by the retina of the eye. Another pulse check, if I were to go to another amazing project. Here in Malaysia, Everyone knows the Rohingya issue, yes or yes? Yeah? So Rohingyas here makes about almost 100,000 people. This is, of course, unofficial number. A lot of projects there, the projects that these guys are doing based on blockchain is simple. They cannot be active on this real economy we're in. We have bank accounts. They don't have bank accounts. They don't have an identity. They are stuck in what we call a dark economy. That is where everybody is exploited to the core. So why hasn't this been prioritized? My reasons were stated earlier if you were listening. So you must ask why. Why do I bother myself coming to this event telling you guys blockchain matters to those who are not being talked about as much as we talk about in the other room over there? Simply because, number one, is we are human beings who deserves a bit of dignity. We don't have that. Go next slide, next slide. The reasons are very clear. We should have been procreating a long time ago to close these gaps. But we choose not to because there were never a reason for it in the first case. Because technology now has been such a, you know, it's from the thumb of your, it's from a, yeah, from the tip of your thumb. You know, you have access to information as much as you want. And the most important part I'd like to share on the next slide is, again, in the case of the refugees. I'm just giving refugees as the best example of how blockchain does matter. Because, like I said, next, previous slide, sorry, previous slide, no, previous slide, here, yeah. So, in the dark economy, they have no credit history, employment and slave wages, trafficking and exploitation, lack of skills, and many, many more. This is what they are going through right now. They cannot go on the mainstream economy because they're not registered. They don't even, some of them don't even have a card to register themselves. But what you can do with blockchain or similar is put them on the virtual economy. That's where the coins are reaping, you know, pump and dumping. You could use for once in the mainstream way to get them be active, the right way. Put all the efforts there. Now, these things are not tangible enough. And this is how I'm going to summarize my talk. If you go to the next slide, there's enormous hurdles, enormous issues. And those issues are that a lot of law enforcements, a lot of government regulators don't see this as any way of benefiting them, which is fair enough. But if you were to look at this in a more economic way, in a way where you can somehow, if you're a business person, you'll be smart enough to say there's an opportunity here. You just need to rally and get the right group of people. As simple as that. Now, if I were to go to the end of my slide, you know, the reason of us living in this abundance age, the last slide, guys, last slide. All right? I don't have time to share more stories, but on my last slide, you know, I'll do this thing right here. The abundance is not about providing everyone this planet with a life of luxury. This is what we're having. It's about giving every possible life the opportunity. And if you have that in your heart or in your mind frame to do so, think about the unbanked. Think about these missed opportunities. Make blockchain more tangible with the impact it can potentially make rather than the financial sectors, the supply sectors, and so forth. That's what I have to say. My words is my word. So that's it. I gotta sign off because it's time for lunch. If you're excited for lunch, you can talk to me over there. So I'll do this thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Zikry, for your wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. So now it's lunchtime. Please